In this segment, we're going to be talking about supporting tantrums and supporting the emotional release of fear. And there's not too much to be said about supporting tantrums. I think most of us have children who readily move into a tantrum, and what a tantrum is a lot of body heat, wild, sudden, unrestrained motion, and a lot of noise. And it's not really aimed at anybody. It's usually in the presence of someone who is either frustrating us or who understands our frustration. Usually it's in front of someone who has promised to stay with us for the rest of our lives, who has promised to love us no matter what. And for the most part, grown-ups only do their tantrums with their absolutely nearest and safest and dearest. So we tend to do our tantrums with our children and with our parenting partners. And in general, you as a listening partner will not see a tantrum in front of you. Every now and then one might burst forward, and usually they're pretty sudden. You can encourage people to go ahead and try having a tantrum, intentionally stomp and make noise and wave their arms and just make big noise, kind of kind of thing. It's not actually a good rendition of a tantrum, but asking someone to try it out can often release some laughter. It loosens them up. Things come to mind to say, and it brings some liveliness and some heart to their listening time, and other kinds of emotion may break through. It won't likely be a true tantrum, but it can open the door to other things, to be that unrestrained and that spontaneous. So in children, you don't really need to encourage tantrums. You just need to get in close and allow the tantrum to happen and keep the person safe while they are in the throes of getting that frustration out of their system. So if a tantrum should happen in front of you with your listening partner right there while you're attending, give yourself a gold star, because you are one of the few that this has happened to, so you must have made it really good and safe. Yeah, what nice going. So the release of fear, on the other hand, is one of the hardest things for most of us to do. And most of us who are just opening up our ability to notice how we feel and release the emotional tension that we carry, don't release fear right away. The way fear releases is not, I don't think we all recognize this as the release of fear, but you have done this. You have released fear in your life. I am almost 100% positive. Almost every one of us has at some time or other been a little scared or felt a little challenged, and we've started to perspire. It's just the sale of antiperspirants is, I'm sure, billions of dollars a year because people release fear in perspiration. And the scareder they are, or the longer they are in this challenging situation, the more they perspire. And for many men whose ability to cry and laugh has really been stomped on hard, perspiration under feelings of being challenged is the one outlet that's easily open to them. So sometimes when you're a dad or a guy and you're beginning to pay attention to your feelings, perspiration is the first and the best thing that comes out, and that's fine. Just bring an extra shirt. So perspiration is one release of fear. Body heat is another. When you're releasing heavy fear, while you're thinking about or having just faced a very frightening situation, your skin can go cold and clammy while you're perspiring. Sort of the hot skin, hot perspiration is with kind of, ordinary grade fear, and the heavy duty fear makes you cold as you perspire, and trembling. Sometimes people scream while they're releasing fear, but the screaming itself is not a release. The screaming allows a person to be loud enough and be active enough that more trembling happens. So sometimes screaming or yelling or shouting or making a lot of loud noise can kind of kick the door open to more and more intense fear release. It's better, we were built to shut down the release of fear by going very, very quiet and very, very passive. And when you break out of that passivity and you get loud and you begin to use your body, that's when the trembling takes place. That's when the perspiration begins. That's when you are getting unscared. And a really good listening partnership where you notice you're trembling and you just keep your mind on the thought that allows you to tremble. And usually that means that your mind is not running away from the thing you're scared of. Your mind is actually deciding to look at it. It's kind of calling the dragon out of the cave. It's saying to yourself, not, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm supposed to speak in front of 50 people tomorrow at work and I'm frightened. It's rather than, you might be able to tremble and you might be able to laugh on that score, but standing up and looking at your listening partner and saying, I'm going to speak in front of 50 people, and then making some noise so you're not being quiet in the middle of it, woo, will let the shakes begin to come. So getting active, deciding to actively face the fear, becoming physically active, taking a powerful stance, which means not sitting down meekly while you're talking about being scared, but standing up and sometimes pushing on someone, sometimes actively sticking up for yourself. I am a good mom, I am a good dad, while thinking of the people who criticize you and pushing on the hands of your listening partner. Or if they are small and you're big, you can push against the wall and they can stand next to you. You can pound with a pillow, you can pound a bed. Anything that gets you moving physically counters the feeling that goes along with fear, which is I'm small and I'm helpless and I'm in grave danger. It's like the times when we were little and fear was first installed, we were very vulnerable. Sometimes we didn't know how to talk. Sometimes we had no control over our bodies. It was the times when we were the most scared were, when we were in the hospital at 6 months old with some difficulty and left there, several nights overnight, because in those days hospital personnel didn't understand the need for a parent to be nearby so that a child could be reassured and heal faster. So incidents like that install feelings of helplessness, install feelings of hopelessness, install feelings of deep fear. And in order for the feeling to release, the situation here and now, while you've got a listening partner, needs to be different enough in a positive way from the situation that installed the fear in the first place. And that usually means you standing up for yourself, you fighting for yourself. You couldn't do it when you were 6 months old in the hospital. No way you could fight for yourself. You couldn't even talk. You had no physical strength. You couldn't get up out of your crib. But now you can stand up, you can push, you can say, never leave me alone again, never, never. And you can cry while you're doing this, you can perspire and tremble while you're doing this. So when someone says they're scared, and then they go on to describe how scared they are, listen to the whole thing. Listen to the 5-minute description of how scared they are and why they're scared and what it might relate back to in their childhood. But once you've heard it all and they begin to cycle back to talk about it one more time in only a slightly different way, that's the time to be more active as a listener. That's the time to say, want to stand up? And invite the person to stand up, invite the person to push against your hands, invite the person to hit your hand. Sometimes when parents are talking about how frustrated they are and how angry they are with their children, I'll put my wrists together and say, go ahead, strangle this little neck, And it's all pretend. This does not turn people into human beings that harm other human beings. What it does is give a person an opportunity to let the impulse show. It's like when we're scared, when we have been frightened, if we haven't gone passive, then the impulse is to fight tooth and nail for our own existence. And we need to stand, as listeners, we need to stand against the flight, reaction. Stay right here, you're still safe. Tell me again what happened. You need to fight against the, folding in and being very quiet and suffering silently, hoping that the feeling of fear will be over. it's like you want to counter that with getting a person to be active. And you want to allow the person a kind of a proxy chance, a pretend chance to use their power to fight back. So oftentimes after 1 or 2 or 3 hits, someone can sob deeply and sweat profusely and then go back and tremble and fight some more. So, and these kinds of episodes in listening time can really change one's life. They can make a huge difference in how we function, how much love we're able to let in, how much love we're able to offer from our hearts to the people that we love. When you're not scared, the whole, contingent communication and the whole story of offering our love even under trying circumstances, all of that goes so much better. I want to show you a clip that is dear to my heart. It's a mom who has been doing listening partnerships for about half a year. She's not that experienced, and she starts out complaining about listening partnerships and not wanting to do them. And it's a really good example of someone just getting in and following where their minds go and releasing grief and releasing trembling and releasing grief and trembling and just kind of going back and forth, and really using her body to allow the feelings to release. She moves a lot, she shakes her hands, which sometimes, I don't know, it just feels like you want to do that when you're feeling scared sometimes. And she's actually working on something that might, veer over into terror. I don't know. Terror is kind of it's the big time in the fear department. And it's also a really good example of how the feelings that we have do not necessarily make any sense to us. They don't have to make sense to anybody else either. We can have layers upon layers of feelings all at the same time. We can feel elated and frightened. We can feel loving and full of anger. We can feel separate and longing for closeness. It just, don't worry about yourself if the feelings you have don't seem to mesh or don't seem to make any logical sense. Who cares? They're feelings. This is, their bailiwick is to be anywhere and everywhere, and to really go through the whole spectrum of any kind of feeling that a human being could possibly feel. They're all yours. They're just feelings, and they show up in order to be released so that you can be more relaxed in your life, and so that when your thinking is clearer and you are more confident of yourself and of the caring of other people.
My whole body started shaking a little bit when you talk about time, because I knew that I would be the one to be up here, because I realized something yesterday. I hate listening time. I hate listening time. I hate it. And I don't have a listening partnership because I don't want a listening partnership. And I do the calls, and every time I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this group call and I'm going to cry. And we did this group call yesterday, and I really just really got into this pocket that was like, this is why I hate listening time, because I have to do this every single time. Yep. And you taught me listening time the very, very first day. And I was like, this is stupid. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. And not because... and I was such a snob about it. I was like, I've done so much personal work, and this is so light, and somebody's just going to listen to me talk, and who cares, and where's the hard strokes, and who's going to handle me, and and I told Kiko, I don't want to do listening time because I only have one thing to do listening time about, and it's this man, Mir's dad. I don't want to cry about Mir's dad every single week. I've been doing it for 10 years. When is it going to be done? How long do you have to cry about a person? I just look so stupid few bucks, and I know I'm gonna look like a wreck, and I know I'm gonna say the same damn thing over and over and over and over again. Ugh. I wouldn't have this child that's exactly like him. So even if I don't talk to him, I have this kid. Oh.
We're going to hear all about it.
I think he got in trouble in school last week, and I was in the principal's office, and the principal was like asking for background or something, and I was like, well, I can give you the psychological profile of my kid and about how much fear he has, but who wants to listen to that? I knew his dad in grade school, and they're just, oh, it's like the same person. Which,
She was real. She was real. Oh, gotcha.
How the hell do you hate somebody and love somebody so much? Oh, I hate everything about him, and I hate everything in a mirror that's like him, and it just... But I love it. Oh, I love it like crazy. Oh, I'm having this other baby. With this other man. This baby's like normal. I can already feel it. It's like, oh, he's gonna be like calm, and he's gonna do good in school. Like, I can just tell, because that's how his dad is. He's just like, they're just sturdy people. What do I do with a kid like that? What do I do with a kid like that? How in the world do you... How am I supposed to love this kid as much as I love him here? How do you do that? How in the world will I love Paul as much as I ever loved Hamza? It's like, how do you do that? Like, Paul, you're such a good man. You're such a good man. You're such a good man. It just doesn't feel the same.
Oh, gotcha. Keep shaking.
Oh, damn it! I just got so embarrassed.
Your body has just what to do.
Oh, it's so embarrassing to feel this way. It's so embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed to long for a man that's bad for me.
I'm going to try taking a peek. Out here at everybody.